game developers ship buggy games and patch them later, while artists wait for perfection and never ship at all. What's the difference? Game developers understand something that most creatives don't, and that done is better than perfect. If you're a painter, a writer, a musician, a photographer, or even a game developer who doesn't ship as often as you'd like, then this video is for you. There's going to be two main sections in this video, and the first one's going to be about the 80% rule, getting it out and getting it done, and the second part's going to be about building community and feedback loops so that you can iterate on your work, improve it, and keep going and become a constant finisher. Let's start with the 80% rule, and it's the idea that something is good enough to ship. Okay, it might not be perfect, it might not be completely refined, it might not be in your ideal state, but it's good enough to put it out there and for it to exist in the world. Imagine you were called away and you had to instantly change tack on your project and go and work on something else. Is it done? If you had to send it today, would it be okay? And that will completely depend on what your creative sphere is. If you're a photographer, like this photograph back here, like yes, it's printed and it's behind glass, but I have the original. I can go back in, I can tweak it, I can print it again. But if yours is a painting, like my wife's one over here, when it's done, when it's framed up, when it's put behind glass, when it's scanned and it's sent to the client, it's probably got to be close enough. So what that looks like can vary depending on the work that you do. And the same thing for writing and musicians. You can still work on your draft. It might be something that you submit and then you work with an editor to improve it. I've read plenty of books and the authors have come back and gone, oh, I've actually rewritten sections of that and put out a second edition. And the same thing with musicians. Later on they might come back and do a remix, or they may do a different version when you see them live on stage. You know, in most cases there's an opportunity to improve and enhance, to rework, to remix, and to bring it out in a slightly different version, because we all grow and mature and we see our work and the world differently as we journey through it. We learn new skills and have new appreciations of what we're able to engage in and how we're able to put out our work. It's really important at the beginning to define what version 1.0 would look like. Where is your starting point? Where are you going to get to a place where you're prepared to put it out amongst your peers for critique or feedback? You know, where would you be happy to go? Well, I know it's not completely finished, but I'm okay to start a conversation and understand what that starts to look like. The reason it's helpful to define what version 1.0 looks like at the beginning is before you get bogged down in the messy middle, before you start to second guess it, want to give up. So you're not negotiating with yourself to scale it down or do something differently, that you know where you're trying to get to all the time, and you've got a clear idea of that, and hopefully you're able to build in steps and stages to get you to that point. Musicians use this tool all the time where they'll write a demo and they'll work on it. They may even work with different producers, add in different musicians, and add in kind of different versions of it. And I love when I find an artist that I know and I've heard their work, and then later on they release a whole pile of extra singles. Like Radiohead keep doing this, for example. Like I've loved going back and listening to their OK Computer, because they released almost a complete second version of demos and kind of B-sides, other versions of the tracks. It's just really interesting to hear their thought process, what made it to the final record, what didn't. And I just think it's a really interesting way to observe it, because we think that the piece that's printed to vinyl and put out, that's it. But no, there's multiple variants and versions all the way through the process. And we can work like that too. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again now. Pick a shipping date. Pick a date when you're going to be ready to go live, to put it out there. Commit to your audience, to your gallery, to your manager, to your teddy bear, whoever, I don't care. What's important is that to yourself, you're going to put yourself on the hook to have it done by a certain date, because deadlines are super motivating, and they're really helpful to start, pushing on. If you're not done and you need a little bit of motivation, thinking, oh my goodness, the days are shrinking before I've got to have this finished and released, that will definitely hone the mind. And also it helps you to make choices. If you have infinite time, infinite decisions you can make, you won't get anything done. As time compresses and squeezes, it's going to be much easier for you to figure out what to cut and what to include because it's going to have to ship on that date. And the second bit that I want to talk about is the idea of community and feedback and building in feedback loops. Game developers do this all the time. They put out projects in alpha or beta. They invite trusted partners or maybe even the general public to get involved, to give them feedback. They're able to stress test when things get to scale. So if they're using multiple servers or different technologies, they're able to check that and see if it works long before they take your money and put it out in public. So they're able to continue and work and rely on that. And what I would suggest is trying to build a space of community where you can do that. It could be a mailing list, it could be a group of peers. Often as artists and creators, your writers, your musicians, your photographers, we often work on our own. There's definitely an element of having the solitude to be able to think and process, to be able to learn, grow, experiment without feeling questioned or scrutinized too closely. That's super helpful, but there are definitely points where sharing your work, getting feedback, and you still have a choice what to do with that feedback. It's not set in stone. If somebody says, oh, I don't like this part of the photograph, or I don't like the baseline here, you don't have to change it, but you can take that feedback on board and have a think about it. Often we get very myopic and focused in on our projects, and it's hard for us to see the wood for the trees. It's hard for us to be really critical and be able to step back. Now, obviously you can do beautiful things like if it's a painting, turn it against the wall and come back to it days or weeks later, or the next morning you can put your headphones on and listen to the track you were working on the night before with fresh ears and go, how does it stand? Does it still all work and gel together? That's useful, but there's also even more power in bringing your people, your community, your trusted advisors in to the process to help you to move it forward as well. And that's exactly why we run the Creative Momentum calls. At the moment in September, they're twice a week and they're free to join. You just need to be on my mailing list and I'll send you out the details. And it's an hour to 90 minutes where we jump on together. We work Pomodoro style. It's a quick introduction, a hello, what are you working on? Some people share their screens. Some people have a camera pointing at their work. You don't have to have your screen or your mic on. You don't have to say anything. We just love to know who you are, where you're calling in from, what you're working on. You can just type that in chat. No big deal. But it's a great way to put yourself on the hook to go, I'm going to sandwich this time into my day, like sandbox it out and make sure I'm going to work creatively. I'll be there. I'll be working on some music. Other people are going to jump in and join us as well. It'd be great to have you along. We've also set up a Discord where we can share our version 1.0s and get feedback, but also celebrate our imperfect work. And it's a great community space. We've had a couple of people join up already. The details for the calls are also going to be shared there in the events tab. So join the Discord below. It's free. Okay, YouTube is going to recommend another video of mine for you here. Have a look at that. Hopefully that helped you overcome some of your blockages, get some of your projects finished, and move towards a space where you are working and actively kind of getting your work done and shipping it. Okay, until next time, stay creative.